Boom. What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday to you all, and welcome to another live beer review. So, I feel like me and Wintucky were on the same wavelength this afternoon because he saw me putting up a post where I'm going to be drinking one from Hardywood, and he had a Hardywood, obviously he posted in chat right here, he had a Hardywood beer available, so it's like it was meant to happen apparently. So yeah, this is the first beer that I reviewed from Hardywood. These guys are out of Richmond, Virginia, I believe, and they play with a lot of real interesting styles, and this one is definitely on that realm of being a very, very interesting style. This is a style that I've really not really accustomed to a lot. I've had a few Baltic porters before because they do things a little bit different with this kind of style of beer. So, of course, the Baltic porter kind of started within like the 18th century and all that kind of stuff, and they kind of played around with different versions of it because it's like your normal kind of stout and porter and all that kind of stuff would be, you'd be using ale yeast, of course, and then the region that the Baltic area is, the Baltic Sea, has very, very high salt content to it, so having those ingredients be around that area would definitely add some changes to your beer. So they kind of changed the... Oh, I feel a sneeze coming. Oh. Ooh, don't mind me. So, yeah, the Baltic area has a lot of different things when it comes to how ingredients are grown there. So they decided to counterbalance that with the kind of yeast they use in this one. So, like I said before, a lot of stouts and porters and all that stuff, they used ale yeast a lot. So this one, they kind of changed it up a bit, kind of creating their own style with it. They actually used lager yeast in this beer, which is, I think, is a really, really cool kind of concept, having that kind of Baltic style and everything, just because Baltic beers kind of have that similar kind of realm of being almost like a port wine kind of situation, having a lot of heavier fruit notes to it, like having those dark kind of plum, toffee, caramel kind of flavors to it, but also having like a good amount of sweetness. So, but this one is a little bit different because this one's called Baltic Sunrise, obviously, and it's conditioned on coffee beans. I believe it's Black Hand Coffee I believe they're out of Richmond, Virginia as well. So this is very, very interesting. I'm especially having like a Baltic porter, having those like deeper kind of sweeter notes. I wonder how the bitterness of the coffee is going to kind of change how this one turns out. This one's a 9.4% ABV. So definitely wouldn't say this is a realm of being sessionable at all. But I'm expecting some nice coffee bitterness to this, along with kind of seeing if I can get those like deeper kind of notes in there of how like a Baltic porter usually is, having those darker fruit notes, having those kind of sweet, caramelly, malty flavors to it, and if that stuff balances out perfectly, this is going to be a fantastic one. So without further ado, I think it's time for us to crack this guy open and see what this thing's all about. I haven't talked about Hardywood before. Hardywood Park Craft Brewery. They're located in Richmond, Virginia. I believe their original location was in Richmond, Virginia. But they decided, their co-founders, Eric and Patrick, they grew up pretty much as their families were friends, and they kind of grew up being friends really, really young. And they... something about meeting up at a sheep station in Australia is on their part of their story. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but they kind of brought their passions together for homebrewing, and they decided to come out with this brewery, Hardywood Park Craft Brewery, which they have, like I said, 2 locations, and they have one in Richmond, and they have one in West Creek, Virginia as well. And they have all kinds of different styles when it comes to beers they have, but I don't think this beer is available right now at the brewery, but I have a feeling you can get this one to go if they have it in cans and all that stuff. Plus, I'm seeing that this stuff's pretty readily available when it comes to around like the North Carolina area as well. So, well, let's see what this beer is all about. Let's get a good smell. Oh yeah, definitely that like darker roast of a coffee is definitely coming through very, very predominantly. It's definitely giving like a nice kind of depth, having that really like a kind of medium to heavy body to it. Yeah, definitely coffee forward. Holy crap. And you guys know me, I'm not a coffee drinker, but I like coffee in my beer. I don't know why. It's just definitely adds like a nice kind of bitterness to it, especially when it's done in a stout or a porter. So without further ado, I think it's time for us to pour this guy. Gonna be drinking out of my untapped tulip glass this afternoon. Let's see how this thing pours. I'm not expecting it to be really syrupy. I'm thinking this might have a little bit of like a bubbly effervescence to it. Of course, there really isn't a lot of hopping going on with this kind of style of beer, just because you don't get any hops on the aromas. You don't really get any like that sharp bitterness that hops usually gives in, just because they want those kind of malty, caramel, like plum date kind of notes to speak for themselves. They want to have a nice sweetness to it. So having that, there's not really much hop. They probably added like maybe a little bit of hops on maybe the boil or something, kind of give that little hint of bitterness. But I think that coffee is definitely going to be where that predominant bitterness is going to come from. Who knows? It might actually enhance the kind of flavors that you would get when it comes to having those deeper like plum, date, caramel, toffee kind of flavors as well. So without further ado, I think it's time for us to try this guy and see what this thing's all about. Yeah, that stuff sounds fantastic. Fantastic. Wow, last beer. Yeah, I've had some of their because when it comes to their bottles, they do some really unique bottles that they use when it comes to their stouts as well. I think I had their raspberry stout before when I was during like the transition to where I didn't have a computer. So without further ado, let's drink this guy. So cheers, everybody. Happy Monday. Oh yeah, that is very, very coffee forward. Definitely has a very, very like dry mouthfeel to it. Yeah, this is just straight coffee in your face, and that's you kind of get you're definitely getting the very like bitter coffee up front. It's not like a burnt kind of flavor at all, but definitely it's like a roasty, kind of almost smoky in a sense. That's really predominant on the front. Definitely leaves like a dry mouthfeel at the end. But then you kind of get like this underlying sweetness, like a roasted sweetness, almost like a roasted kind of, definitely the roasted malts in there. They're being predominant very much at the end. But yeah, this is pretty damn fantastic. I really like how it's not too bitter. The coffee, if you're a coffee fan, you're going to love this just because it's very, very predominantly flavored in coffee. So not really getting much of those like lower kind of sweet notes. Who knows if it was more room temperature, since I just pulled it out of the fridge, those kind of flavors might come out a little bit towards the end. But I don't think you're going to get any of those like deeper fruit notes or like that caramel toffee flavor if it was room temperature, just because up front you're going to be getting that very, very slap in the face coffee flavor. And I think they did a pretty damn good job at this. I'm enjoying it for sure. There's something about beer and coffee that to me is more enjoyable than just drinking coffee itself. I don't know, but yeah, that's pretty damn delicious. Upfront bitterness, upfront coffee bitterness, kind of getting like a smoky thing towards the middle, and then right at the end it kind of gets like a roasty, almost semi-sweet kind of like sweetness to it. Maybe a little bit of like hints of like toffee and caramel kind of notes, but definitely they're not very predominant of knowing that's the kind of flavor you're getting, just because you're getting so much coffee that's staying on the palate. And overall it's still pretty damn solid. So let's look here on Untapped. Of course, if you're not able to get your hands on this Baltic Sunrise from Hardywood Park Craft Brewery, then you may be able to find stuff on there that's maybe similar, because Untapped shows similar beers to whatever you're kind of looking for and all that kind of stuff. So if you can't get your hands on this one, I'm going to list off a few that Untapped suggests that might be, who knows, similar to this one. And the cool thing about it is, I didn't just realize this, they have a bourbon barrel-aged Baltic Sunrise that sounds absolutely fantastic. I think having that more of like a boozy kind of thing to it might actually make it a lot better. Plus, I'm a huge fan of barrel-aged beers. So let's see, we got one here from Branch and Bone Artisan Ales, which is their BA Spirit Migration with coconut and vanilla. It's a 10.6% Baltic Porter. Well, I don't really think this one's going to be similar, just because that coconut and vanilla is definitely going to be predominant flavors in there. Definitely going to be more sweeter when there's really not much of a sweetness to this whatsoever. Then we got, I think this is probably French, and I can't pronounce it at all, but I don't even know how to say this, but it's a 10.5% Baltic Porter. It's definitely in a different language, but it's oak aged and everything, so that might bring out a little bit like more like the smokiness to it. Let's see, we got one from Gilla Brewing Company called Slay My Porter, which is a 14.5% ABV Imperial Baltic Porter. I don't think... See, Madagascar Vanilla, Vietnamese Cinnamon. See, I don't think that you're really going to get much of that in there, just because... See, I don't think I would consider that... Oh, we got one here called Iowa Brewing Co. has their Nutella Stuffed Oreoja. So they came out with an 8.9% Baltic Porter, and it's a variant of their double stuffed Oja. So that one might be kind of close, because I'm thinking there's It's finished on Oreo cookies and hazelnuts. Maybe, I don't know, having the I don't see, that's tough because I don't think that the cookie notes and the hazelnut would kind of give similar notes to how coffee forward this one is. But then we got one from North Fork Brewery. Here it's a 7.5% Baltic Porter called Stephen Eric's Neat Beer. So let's see. Doesn't really give much a description of what this one's all about. Of course, it's a barrel. These are barrel aged as well, so a lot of these ones, it's definitely going to be tough for me to suggest any of these similar beers just because there's barrel aging involved. They're definitely going to be more boozy. So I don't think any of those have predominant coffee flavors in them, like the Nutella stuffed Oreo one, I think would be far from what the same experience. So the only thing that I can think of when it comes to a similar experience to this one is look for a porter, look for kind of like a coffee stout, a very, very heavy coffee stout that most likely will give you similar characteristics to this one. Of course, you may not get more of those like dark fruit notes, maybe caramel notes at the end. If you're looking for something that's predominantly coffee, just look for a very, very heavy coffee stout or a coffee porter, and I think you'd probably get a very similar experience to this one. So let's look here again on Untapped and see if there's anybody on my friends list who checked this one in. Let's see. Okay, so of course, the one I was expecting here, we got my dad who checked this in back in July. Okay, so that's how long I've had this. So I've had this since July, and he gave this a full 4 out of 5, saying for a coffee drinker, it really hits the spot. So yeah, if you're, like I said before, if you're a coffee fan, if you really, really enjoy coffee, this is definitely going to be a beer that you want to keep an eye out for, just because it has so many heavy, heavy coffee flavors in it to where if you don't like coffee, you're not going to like this beer. It's pretty much what it's going to come down to. And I think they did a pretty good job making that coffee flavor very predominant, not making it too bitter. Definitely having that kind of smoky, almost roasty kind of flavor at the end. Very, very slight sweetness that kind of finishes off the palate. So overall, I'm really curious if they did use lager yeast in this one, just because if they use ale yeast, you might get some similarities to maybe like more of like a hoppy bitterness instead of that kind of coffee bitterness. Who knows? But plus, I doubt this thing was heavily hopped at all. I think they just may add just a slight amount of hops, maybe using some German style hops in there to kind of bring in different like aromas and mouthfeel and all that kind of stuff. So let's look here at the global rating and see what other people were checking this one in and where they got it and what they rated it. So let's see. This guy gave it a 4.5 out of 5 purchase off Tavour like I did. This other person gave it a 4.5 purchase at D's Bottle Shop and Craft Beer College, which is located in Raleigh, North Carolina. Let's see. We got one here he gave it a 3.75 purchase at the Beer Cafe Bakujan, which looks like this is a place in like Japan, I think. Maybe Japan or China and all that kind of stuff. That's cool seeing that stuff available over there. Well, let's see. This person gave it a 3.75 purchase at the Union Beer House, which is in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, maybe? Okay. So you can get Pennsylvania. Then this guy gave it a 3.25, saying acidic, bold, coffee-flavored porter. I'm not really getting much acidity to this. Definitely it's the kind of dry feel. When it comes to an acidity in a beer, coffee may be able to bring that kind of acidity to it. I don't think it adds enough to where it's a noticeable acidity. But he might notice that flavor palettes are always different. But this guy gave it a 4 out of 5. Let's see, another 4.5. Let's see, we got another 4.5. This person gave it a 3.25, saying too coffee heavy for me, but goes down smooth. Yeah, so like I said before, if you're not a fan of coffee, you may not enjoy this, to be honest. If you're a coffee fan, this is definitely a must pick up, in my opinion. If you can get your hands on this one, and if you're a really big fan of coffee, this is just definitely something to put on the list and keep an eye out for. Kentucky, I know you like your coffee in the morning, so who knows, you may be able to get this and switch out. Instead of the coffee, have this guy, and I think you'd be a little bit happier. But overall, yeah, it's delicious. Absolutely delicious. For a coffee porter, for like a Baltic coffee porter, I think they did a fantastic job with this. Absolutely. So let's start figuring out what we're going to be doing for ratings on this guy. So, let's see. Did I read the description? Let's see what they... Okay, so, of course, like I said, 9.4% ABV. And with over 1,005 ratings, this one has an average rating of 3.98 out of 5, which is pretty damn good. Almost having that right on that cusp of being like a 4 average. I think those 3.25s are from the people that really didn't enjoy heavy coffee in their beer, which probably caused it to not get that average 4 rating. But the description they show here on Untapped, which is Hardywood Baltic Sunrise, is conditioned on locally roasted coffee beans from Black Hand Brewing Company in Richmond, Virginia. Let's see, our Baltic Porter is invigorating, full-bodied lager with a bold aroma of freshly brewed coffee, preceding notes of bittersweet chocolate, hints of dark cherry, and malty smooth finish. Yeah, not really getting the cherry notes to it whatsoever. Definitely, I think that kind of roasty, almost like semi-sweet at the end, maybe that semi-sweet chocolate kind of note that I may not be picking it up as semi-sweet chocolate, but definitely getting that kind of sweet, not so sweet, dry kind of situation. But the malty smooth finish, yeah, I definitely get that, almost that kind of smoky, malty finish that's just very, very smooth and absolutely delicious. So I think, first of all, we need to look at can art, because can art's one of the first things we always rate over here. And let's see if I can pour the rest of this into the glass. Yeah, the can art for this one is very, very clean. I really, really like just the simplicity to it. They took advantage of their real estate, which pretty much the whole front of it, you have the coffee beans sitting there, you got the Hardywood kind of sit on the top, and then you got the Baltic Sunrise right there. And then they took advantage of like stuff on the side where it's showing their logo. Of course, they suggest pouring it into a stem glass, which is kind of that just like a tulip style glass. It tells you a temperature to drink it as. Of course, this one's savor at 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so definitely up to that, not so almost getting to the point to where it's almost room temp, not much, still a little bit under room temp. And then right here they took up a good amount of spots. It's from their Virginia Roots series, and just showing their like description on there. So for having such a clean can art, having that kind of old school kind of pencil drawn coffee beans on there, I think it's really, really nice. Very, very clean. It's just very sophisticated looking. This would definitely be something that would catch my interest if I saw it at a liquor store or a bottle shop, just because it's just sophisticated. They even though it's not really like very intricate with the can art, they definitely took advantage of using all the real estate, having just a really, really clean, classy look to it. So overall, I'll give this a very, very solid 4 out of 5 for can art. Very, very nice. So let's see here. If I got this beer and a flight at Hardywood Park Craft Brewery, would I get another one? To be honest, if I was looking for a nice kind of porter / stout that would kind of give my like, I want a beer with coffee in it fix, this would be the first beer I go for. I'm going to be honest here. This is definitely one of the most coffee predominant beers I've had. I think I had one from Noon Whistle a while back that was just as almost really, really close to being very coffee predominant as well. But the Noon Whistle one and this one are probably the two best beers I've had where it's just like major coffee flavors in your face, and I think they did a fantastic job. So I think I would definitely get another one of these if I was looking to kind of crave that coffee fix a little bit. But I think my final rating on this guy is going to be a very, very solid 8 out of 10. Absolutely delicious. Like I said before, if you're a coffee fan, this is definitely one you need to kind of keep an eye out for, just because it will hit all the marks that you look for when it comes to just having a very, very coffee-heavy beer. Okay, so yours says pour in a stem glass at 45 degrees, so yeah, having a little bit of a warmer temp. Yeah, I'm going to let this kind of sit on my desk a little bit and drink it slowly to kind of get that temperature up a little bit, see if I start noticing any different notes to it. But having it still be cold right now, coffee flavors are absolutely delicious, and yeah, what else more can you ask for? So yeah, very, very solid 8 out of 10 for this one. I would definitely suggest this one. Like I said, if you're a fan of coffee, this is a must try. But if you're in like the Richmond, Virginia area, go over to Hardywood. I think they're closed today anyways, so but they have a nice couple locations, so if you're anywhere near any of those 2 locations that I listed off earlier, go over there, check out their stuff. Of course, check out what they have on tap over there. It's some pretty cool stuff that they have available, all kinds of different styles when it comes to like stouts, your little lagers, kind of pale ales, IPAs. They have a bunch of stuff available on tap, plus they have a bunch of different varieties when it comes to availability to go as well. So yeah, go over there, show them some love. If you want to visit their website, it's down in the description below for you guys. But other than that, I think that is pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you everybody again for hanging out. You guys are awesome. If you want to possibly see more stuff from Hardywood, if you want to get your hands on them, if you can't get your local liquor store or bottle shop to carry their stuff, I can always recommend trying out Tavour. It's a great platform where you can kind of just they have 7,000 beers available to you, to where they update their list every single day of what they have available. You can either do like a build your own box kind of situation like I do, or you can kind of give them flavor profiles that you enjoy, different kind of beer styles that you enjoy, and they'll send you random beers fitting that profile per month. But it's a great platform, so go down on their website. They'll direct you to the app page to where you can download it on Android or iPhone. You just got to find out right away when you try to create your account. They'll let you know right away if you can get stuff shipped to you. So you just got to try that out. But other than that, let's see here. Still need to crack a 2015 Hardywood Bourbon Barrel Aged GBS. That sounds it's going to be like black gold over their last beer for sure. That sounds absolute. Yeah, I think if you kept it in the right kind of temperature and location, kept it in a dark spot, had it cellaring properly, I think that one is going to taste absolutely fantastic. I have a bottle of Dark Lord from Three Floyds that I'm going to be aging for at least another 3-4 years, and it's like a 2020 release, so I'm not going to be touching that for at least 3, maybe 5 years almost. I'm definitely going to be keeping that off to the side and having that for a very, very special occasion down the road. Who knows? But other than that, let's see here. Of course, I'm going to end it all with, if you want to see a social media platform when it comes to beer drinking where you can check in beers, get badges, all kinds of stuff, I recommend all of you, if you're a craft beer fan, get yourself onto Untappd. It's a great platform. It's available on Android or iPhone, or if you're using a computer all the time, you could run it through the desktop through your browser. But it's just really, really fun. You can see what other people are drinking, what's popular in your area, what's popular globally, all that kind of stuff, and just see what's the big craze nowadays when it comes to style of beers and all that kind of stuff. You can kind of keep an eye out through that and see what other people are drinking as well. It's really, really cool. You can see people like me, Kentucky, Ian's on there, Dutch is on there. Let's see. Last beer, if you're on Untappd, my link to my profile is down in the description below for you guys. Shoot me a friend request on Untappd. I would love to see what you're drinking as well. And you, of course, shoot everybody here a friend request on Untappd too. It's a great platform. I'm guessing you're probably already on there. If you're a craft beer fan, you're already on Untappd. But yeah, like I said, you could see people like me, Ian, Kentucky, Dutch is on there. Lee, Not the Real Gerard Butler's on there. The Tight Fins, Sean and Lizzie, the Angry Hippies themselves. Logan's on there. There's a bunch of us on there just drinking beers and having a good time. But other than that, yeah, I think that is pretty much what I have for you guys today. So thank you again, everybody, for hanging out. You guys are amazing. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. It would help me out a lot. And if you're new to the channel and like what you see, make sure to hit that subscribe button along with that notification bell. It'll let you know when I ever go live to another review. And I'm going to end this like I always end it before we get the hell out of here. If you're going to drink responsibly. Don't drink and drive. And I'll see you all next time, people. Cheers.